Impact Emergence. Yes, we're going to be talking a little bit about Impact Emergence today, specifically Night 2. Night 1 kicks off this coming Tuesday on Access TV. It's Impact's latest special televised event. They've done a couple before. It's I don't want to say it's a rip-off of Fyter Fest or the Great American Bash, because I've seen some people say that, and it's just not the case. Impact have been doing these TV specials for a while on Access TV. They did it for Rebellion earlier this year. So it's just the latest attempt of that. Look, Impact put on about 5 pay-per-views a year now. Not like they used to back in the TNA days, where they used to do it every month. That just doesn't happen anymore. So these televised events are just a tremendous way to continue the storylines going, continue the momentum going, pop a big number on Access TV. Not that they need to at the moment, because if you've seen on the news recently, Impact Wrestling is the highest rated program on Access TV that they've got right now. Now, it isn't drawing mega numbers or anything like that, only maybe 150, 200,000 viewers, but it's pretty damn good, and it's pretty good to see that Impact Wrestling are doing well on Access TV, and long may that continue, because the momentum and the work that's been going on in the company recently has just been absolutely tremendous. But today we're going to talk about the Knockouts Championship. We're going to talk about the 30-minute Iron Man match on Night 2 of Impact Emergence between Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo defending against Jordynne Grace. Now, in my opinion, this is absolutely the right call to main event Night 2. Night 2 is going to be bigger than Night 1, because that's how these things work. If this was an actual pay-per-view and you merged both nights together, Night 2 would have the main event in. So therefore, Night 2 is the bigger show, and main eventing Night 2 pretty much means that Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace, the Knockouts Championship, is the main event of this televised special by Impact Wrestling. So it's absolutely the right call to main event the show, and I'll tell you why. I don't want to make this about AEW versus Impact. I don't want to make this about Impact versus WWE or anything like that. If you're going to compare this, though, to the AEW Women's Division, and there's been a lot of criticism for the AEW Women's Division recently, and rightfully so. Absolutely rightfully so. Could AEW, could All Elite Wrestling do this right now? Could they have their Women's Championship main event, gosh, an episode of Dynamite, let alone what is essentially a pay-per-view or a televised special, anything like that? Absolutely not. There is no chance in how, to quote Vince McMahon's theme song, that All Elite Wrestling could have their females main event a show. Now, is that because of the talent they have in their female division? I don't think so. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I do think they have some talented wrestlers in their female division. Hikaru Shida could go into any female division in WWE, in Impact Wrestling, Stardom, wherever. She could absolutely do that. Nyla Rose, I'm a big fan of Nyla Rose. I know some people aren't, but I think she's absolutely tremendous. I think Britt Baker is another one. She's an absolute star, and I'd love to see Britt Baker in Impact Wrestling. I think she'd do great in WWE too. I do think the talent is there to do it. I just think with AEW, their female division, their women's division, just isn't a priority for them. I really don't think that's the case. And I don't think there's anything nefarious in that. I just don't think they pay that much attention to it. They're not that concerned with it. They obviously will play up on social media the equality aspect of it, whether it is AEW heels, etc., having the AEW Tag Team Women's Cup, whatever they're calling it on YouTube. Great. But it obviously isn't a priority for them. You get one female match a show on Dynamite. You certainly aren't having the females main event in the shows, pay-per-views, or televised specials, whereas in Impact Wrestling, they are. They absolutely are. It absolutely is a priority for Impact Wrestling to have a strong female division, and that's what the Knockouts division is for Impact Wrestling. And to be honest, historically, it's always been the case. Even when the Knockouts division was first founded, around, when was it, 2007? I think 2007, 2008. I'm sure if I'm wrong, you can let me know in the comment section. But when the Knockouts division was first created, one, it did the best rated segments on the show. So it was a draw even back then. Two, the matches were some of the best matches on the show. I defy you, go back and watch a Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong match from those early Knockouts division days back in 2007, 2008. You will struggle to find a better match today. Not only in women's wrestling, but just in pro wrestling at all. Those matches were great. It's always been a priority for Impact Wrestling and TNA Wrestling, and it carries over now. And if anything, I think with the society that we're in now in 2020 and the way that women have evolved in not even just sports and entertainment, but just in life and in society, it absolutely should be a prime focus for professional wrestling companies, and you can tell that it is with Impact Wrestling, and that's great to see. It's an absolute priority for Impact Wrestling, and their women's knockouts division holds up against any other roster in the world. Arguably, I'd probably say WWE's is slightly better than Impact Wrestling, but for a company the size of Impact Wrestling to have a women's division that is better than AEW's and can certainly compete with WWE's, that's an absolute credit to Impact Wrestling. So I think it's an absolute right call to have Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace main event night 2 of Impact Emergence. Secondly, Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace at Slammiversary, in my opinion, was arguably the match of the show. If you look at that show again, great show, great card. There were some great matches on that show. I really enjoyed Willie Mack versus Chris Bay. Obviously, the main event was what a lot of people were talking about. The tag title match was fine. You obviously had the Motor City Machine Guns return, etc. But I don't think on that show at Slammiversary back in July, I don't think you're going to find a better match than Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace at Slammiversary. In my opinion, best match on that show. Not in the opinion of Dave Meltzer, though, who rated the Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace match at Slammiversary as only 2 3/4 stars, which to me, I can make myself very angry here, and I can work myself up into a frenzy, but it's nuts. It's absolutely insane. Jordynne Grace did comment about this on Twitter, saying, "Oh, if it was in the Tokyo Dome, it would have got 5 stars." Look, I don't want to go in on Meltzer. I just think it was insane for him to rate that as 2 3/4 stars. It's way better than that. That's just what it is. And I don't like having this conversation because his star ratings, and anyone's star ratings for that matter, are meaningless. It's just opinion, and that's what pro wrestling is. Pro wrestling is just about opinion. It's just about people enjoying wrestling. I myself, my opinion, I thought it was way better than what Dave Meltzer obviously thinks it was. But my opinion means just as much as Dave Meltzer's, and that's not a lot, because it's just an opinion. That's what it is. Dave Meltzer obviously has a large following. He's been covering pro wrestling for a long, long time. So in some people's eyes, his opinion means more than others. But let's be honest, the reason he does these star ratings is because of what we're doing right now, because it gets people talking, and it gets people talking about him, it gets people talking about the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and all of that sort of stuff. So I don't pay that much attention to it. I know some people do, but I think that's worth dropping in there. If anything, I value the followers and the subscribers of this channel, your opinions, much more than Dave Meltzer's. So if you've got an opinion on what you thought about the Jordynne Grace versus Deonna Purrazzo match at Slammiversary, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do I think they've got a point to prove to Dave Meltzer because of it? No, not really. I don't think they pay much attention to it. Do I think they want to shove it up Dave Meltzer's butt? Maybe, but he's not going to care, and you know, he's not going to go, you know what? Oh, I was wrong. I'm going to give that match 5 stars at Impact Emergence. I don't think so. I'm sure people like Jordynne Grace will use it as motivation, but I don't pay much attention to that sort of stuff. The only thing that they should use as motivation for the match is, you know, we had a great match at Slammiversary. Let's go out there and prove that we can have an even better match at Impact Emergence. The foundations are there for it. The stipulations are there for it. The storyline's there for it. So I'm very confident that they can go out there at Impact Emergence and do a great show and do a great match. Now, the great thing about an Iron Man match is that there are loads of different ways to do an Iron Man match. It has been done quite a few times. Obviously, we don't see Iron Man matches all the time. It's a stipulation that actually isn't, thankfully, overdone in professional wrestling, but we have seen a few of them over time, so there are certainly different ways that they can tell the story in this match. Obviously, they can do the classic Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, no falls and go into overtime. I don't think they will in this one. It's only 30 minutes. They don't have the 60-minute, way to do it like they did at WrestleMania, so I don't think they'll do the Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart story here. I think we will have falls in this one. We could have only a couple of falls and then go into overtime. I think the idea of it going into overtime is probably unlikely here because it's a televised event. If this was a pay-per-view, I would say maybe. The problem is when they do the whole overtime thing, I just don't think they would do that with a televised event. I think they would say, obviously, we've got TV time, we've got TV commitments, we have to be off the air by a certain time, blah, blah, blah. I just don't think they'll do that story because logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense at this point, so I don't think they'll do that. A story that I do think that they will tell in this one with the Iron Man match, and also, side point, why do we have to call it an Iron Man match? Why can't they call it an Iron Woman match? Is that just me? Maybe that's me being really PC. I don't know. But given that Deonna Purrazzo's finish is the armbar, I think we could definitely see a few spots where she locks the armbar in and then Jordynne Grace taps out quickly. Now, why would you do that? Well, that's what's great about an Iron Man match, because when you lock in a submission, you're usually in the match. If you tap out, the match is over. But an Iron Man match is all about preservation till the end of the 30 minutes. So if she gets locked in on that armbar, it makes the most sense for her to tap out quickly, lose the fall, but you preserve your arm and you can get that fall back later on in the match. So I think they'll do that spot, because that spot, again, that's great storytelling. That's great logic. And I think that would be a spot that they do in this match. Deonna Purrazzo, obviously, is the heel in this match. And we've seen this a couple of times in Iron Man matches throughout the years. Obviously, again, her finish, Deonna Purrazzo's finish, the virtuosa's finish, is the armbar. So we saw this at Slammiversary. What did she do at Slammiversary? She worked over the arm the whole match. Kept working over the arm, and then eventually you get the finish, you get the victory by submission by the armbar. So instead of working over it legally, like she did at Slammiversary, she can now, in an Iron Man match, just go outside, grab a steel chair, and just beat the holy hell out of Jordynne Grace's arm and shoulder. Yes, you're going to lose a fall by DQ, but it doesn't matter, because she softened up the arm. So what she can do after that, she can get back in the ring, she can lock that armbar back in, Jordynne Grace taps out, you're leveled up on the scores there, and she's got a bum arm for the rest of the match that if you lock in the armbar at another point, you're going to get a fall again. So again, I think that that's something they could do. I believe, just after, I haven't gone back and checked this, but off the top of my head, I believe Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle did a similar spot on SmackDown in 2003. They had that awesome Iron Man match for the WWE Championship where Brock Lesnar actually won the WWE Championship on SmackDown. And obviously Kurt Angle's finish is the ankle lock, and I believe they did a similar kind of thing there, whereby obviously you work over the ankle with a steel chair perhaps, and then get Brock to tap out that way. So I think that, again, that's a spot you can do, and that's a spot that's very specific to an Iron Man match. These are the things, in my opinion, that when you have a stipulation like this, you need to take advantage of, and you need to tell a logical story. The great thing about Iron Man matches is that there's so much logic to them, because a lot of the time logic gets lost in pro wrestling matches. A lot of the time strategy and working over a body part and all of that sort of stuff gets lost in pro wrestling matches because of just the way that pro wrestling has evolved. But the Iron Man match kind of forces you back into that logic. Okay, I know I've got 30 minutes. I know I have to get more falls than my opponent. How do I effectively do this in an Iron Man match? And it makes this logical game plan come out from the competitors. And that's something that I really enjoy about Iron Man matches. And I think spots like that, like using the chairs for a DQ but then working over the arm, all of that sort of stuff, I think that's what's really intriguing to me about Iron Man matches. That's what I like about Iron Man matches. Now, I could also see a scenario whereby we're coming up to the last minute, it's tied, let's say it's 2-2, 3-3 or something like that, and Deonna Purrazzo, she locks in the armbar. As I mentioned, Jordynne Grace, she's had her arm worked over the entire match, whether it is by a steel chair, whether it is by a couple of armbar attempts or whatever. And now Jordynne Grace, she has what? Now let's say 45 seconds or a minute to hold on. She holds on for like 30 seconds, but it's just too long. She just quite can't get there, and she taps out. Then we have 10 seconds left. Purrazzo's got the most falls, and she gets the victory. That's the great thing about Iron Man match, is that if it's done right, the drama that's in those final couple of minutes, that's your money right there. That is your money. That's when it's awesome. It's all about building. It's all about building when it comes to an Iron Man match. It's all about laying the foundations to tell that story right at the end to build to that crescendo. The best Iron Man matches, in my opinion, they all tell a story. And that's what pro wrestling is. Pro wrestling is just about telling stories and getting people emotionally invested. Whether it is in the characters, whether it is in the matches, all of it comes together. And the best Iron Man matches, they tell the story through the falls, through the pins, through the disqualifications, etc. And that eventually builds to an enthralling, exciting final minute or couple of minutes. That's the great thing about Iron Man matches. So to me, that's the key element in this match. That's the key element right there. Can we get to that final minute? Can we get to that final couple of minutes with this tension, with this story that's been slowly built layer after layer, fall after fall, throughout the match and get to that final minute. I expect we get to that final minute. Well, there's two ways, isn't there? You can get to that final minute and it can be level, and then you get the last fall in that final minute. Or you can get to that final minute. I mentioned earlier that you can have Deonna Purrazzo work over Jordynne Grace's arm and shoulder. You can have her be like 4-1 up coming into the final couple of minutes, and then Jordynne Grace gets a couple of falls rather, and the next thing you know, oh wow, the momentum's with Jordynne Grace. Can she get it? Oh, we just run out of time. There is so many ways to do it. The only critical thing, in my opinion, is that you have to commit to one. You can't do all of these things. You can't go, okay, we're going to try and do, no falls in overtime and then do this and then do that. You've got to pick your strategy and then you've got to go with it. You've got to, if you want to tell the story about getting so far behind and then nearly making the comeback, you can do it that way. Or you can do the story of, their match right to the end, and then in the last minute you just do it like that. So there's lots of different ways to do it. The important thing is that every single way it's entertaining and every single way it tells a great story. In my opinion, what would I like to see? I would like to see it going into that final minute level, and then Deonna Purrazzo just nicks it at the end. I do think there definitely is a possibility of what I've just said, of Purrazzo goes so far in front, and then Jordynne Grace gets back, maybe say she's 4-0 in front, she makes it back to 4-3, and then just at the end, it's just time just runs out on her. I think they could do that. Likewise, we could see a scenario whereby, say it's 3-3 or it's a draw of whatever kind in the final minutes, and then the bell rings, and then because it's a draw, Deonna Purrazzo wins just to be she's got the champion's advantage, right? So it's a draw, therefore the winner is Deonna Purrazzo, or therefore still the Knockouts champion, not the winner rather, is Deonna Purrazzo. I could certainly see them do it like that. I'm not really sure if I would want to see that. As to me, that seems to be a bit of a cop-out and a bit of a lame finish, especially when you've invested 30 minutes of your time and the competitors have invested 30 minutes of going out there, putting it all on the line. To get a draw, it just seems a bit of a watery finish, and it's not very satisfying to me. I'd rather they didn't do it, but I could see the reasons as to why they do it, because maybe that's the way they continue this story all the way to Bound for Glory in October. I mentioned that the great thing about Impact Emergence, the event, was that you can tell these shorter stories and then focus on some Bound for Glory stories afterwards, and you don't have to drag out stories from every single story. Doesn't have to last from Slammiversary to Bound for Glory, because for some stories that's just too much time. For other stories it's not. Rich Swann, Eric Young's prime example, that story needs time to be told. So it makes sense for them to drag that out. Or not even drag that out. I wouldn't say drag that out is probably the right term. It just makes sense for them to wait and take their time and let that story simmer. Some of the best dishes, you have to let it simmer, right? And the best stories are exactly the same. Some stories just can't last that long. So that's what's great about Impact Emergence, is you can tell these sort of shorter stories and then move on to the main stories for Bound for Glory. So with this one, I could see them doing a draw, and that's how they can continue the story of Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace to Bound for Glory. They could do a bit of a trilogy, right? You've got the first match was at Slammiversary that Deonna Purrazzo won. The second match was a draw, and then you can have the third match. I'm not sure what that does for Jordynne Grace, because I think Jordynne Grace would lose at Bound for Glory too, and then she's had 3 matches against Deonna Purrazzo and she hasn't won any single one of them. So I just don't know if I can see that story going out that far. I think it also depends on how good the match is, right? If we have the Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace match here at Impact Emergence, and it's even better than anything we could even imagine, if it's even better than the match at Slammiversary, if it's way better than 2 3/4 stars, Dave, then perhaps maybe it does last out to Bound for Glory, and perhaps the demand is there to see a third match in the trilogy. I could see that, but I'd rather we had a definitive winner at Impact Emergence, and then we can move on to something different. Perhaps have Deonna Purrazzo going up against Taya Valkyrie. I'd be really interested in seeing that. We've seen a lot of Rosemary recently, or we know Kylie Ray is also the #1 contender for the Knockouts Championship, so perhaps we have Kylie Ray go up against Deonna Purrazzo at Bound for Glory in October. Look, there's just so many great competitors in this Knockouts division, and it kind of brings me back to my point at the start of this video. There is just so much great talent in that Knockouts division that could easily any of them could main event the show and have great matches. So it's a really exciting time to be watching Impact Wrestling in general. But that Knockouts division really is superb, and it's just great to see the Knockouts take center stage and steal the show because the division is just that damn good. It absolutely does rival WWE and NXT. I do think, as I mentioned, that NXT and WWE's women's division is better than Impact Wrestling, but it's beyond the point. The fact that Impact are conscious that women's wrestling can draw and it can main event and it can take center stage is absolutely fantastic to see. And it absolutely does blow AEW's women's division out of the water. It really does. And it really is a unique selling point of Impact Wrestling right now. And that's the great thing about Impact Wrestling at the moment is they've seen what separates us. What separates us and makes us different from some of the other companies. And in some cases, we're getting opportunities. If I'm a female star and I've left WWE or NXT because I didn't think I was going to get a good shot, would I really want to go to AEW right now? Probably not. Probably not, because that's not the best place for a female wrestler to go right now in terms of getting opportunity, in terms of being in the main events, in terms of having a big spotlight on yourself. It's worth more to you to go to Impact Wrestling because they're main eventing shows. So really excited about the main event of Night 2 of Impact Emergence. Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace 30-minute Iron Man match should be an absolute show stealer, and I'm really excited about it. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on this 30-minute Iron Man match between Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace at Impact Emergence? Who do you think is going to win? Do you think we're going to see a third match in the trilogy later on? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. I really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendations feed. So if you have enjoyed it, please do give us a like. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. We're closing in on 700 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. If you have, just know that I really, really do appreciate it. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get there, we'll be doing a lot more live streams and watch-alongs and reactions and all of that fun stuff. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.